Hi, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Flirting with a Fish once again. Flirting with a Fish. Just as you know, the name in itself has a lot of depth. For us, the fish is that mission, that passion, that commitment, or the dream that one has. And they're chasing it so deeply, so madly, so beautifully that it almost experiences like flirting. What is flirting? Flirting is something that whoever does it is enjoying, does not care about what others think or how exactly even it feels to the other person in their life, but they are enjoying. And this podcast, this set of series of conversations is exactly with those set of people who have a fish or many fishes in their life. They love to keep catching it, even though it keeps slipping out of their hands so many times. And the process is just pure joy for them. So today on our podcast is Mr. Ashok Pandey, director of Alcon Group of Schools, which is based in Mayur Vihar, Delhi NCR. He has been in as an educator for many, many years, like 18, 20, 25, you put the number there, but like really been there. And these have been very, very formative years for the current education system that we are living into and is developing in over the next 5 years. So to hear this podcast from a person who has been in a structure which is derived in a way that there are hierarchies, there are rules, there are protocols to follow, and yet in spite of that, they are taking care of those nimble human beings, the tiny little babies who step out for the first time from the comfort of their homes and their parents' laps onto a completely intimidating space, if I could call it. The new walls, the new pillars, the new corridors, the new assembly, everything that is first time for them. And then they spend literally their life into that system. It is that structure called as schools that Mr. Ashok Pandey has been heading for many years. And the children who have been passing out from the schools under his direction have not just been academically and co-curricular wise brilliant in their records, but it is the reputation that an organization and the person carries. And in case of Mr. Pandey, it is the parents and the teachers who have been a true testimony to what his leadership has brought him. I have known him for many years and I've interviewed him even earlier. But that is the kind of fishes that Mr. Pandey holds on to. That there's always a new fish that he is catching and chasing. And so it is never enough to know him more. Very happy to bring Mr. Ashok Pandey and his journey. And I hope all of us have something to take away from life's experience from him. Welcome, sir. Welcome to Flirting with the Fish.
Thank you, Sonia. You have humbled me to the core. And let me tell you, after listening to you, what you say about me and think about me, I will have to take at least 2 weeks of humility walk, you know, where where I reflect I, all that Sonia has said. And but thank you very much. The journey has been very enjoyable. Let me tell you, every year added to my life added one more layer of understanding to that question and answer. Right, and that was the question was, what is this life about? Right? And the answer was, the simplest form of the answer was that what this life, don't worry into this. Worry about one thing, that at the end of your life, you will have to ask a question. And that question would be, have I lived a fulfilled life? So what will be answer to that question? And you have to prepare for that, right? That is what life is. You get the point?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So, I mean, just imagine, you can say it is profound, you can say it is very simple, you can say it is easy to follow, but I think that is what we have to prepare our children for, that we want them to be this, we want them to be that, but for what? What is that higher purpose of life, a fulfilled life.
Yeah.
And that fulfilled life, I'm not saying that it will not include success, it will not include growth, it will not include prosperity. It will also include that we have to have a peaceful life, We have to have a society which is sustainable, everything.
Everything.
Then that fulfillment will come from where? This will come from two things. First, a very high purpose in life. That should be your motivation. And the second is prepare to achieve those with this higher motivation. And therefore develop all those skills and knowledge and values, and combine the two to achieve that fulfillment, inclusive of all these material success. Also, that is the definition of success, right? So I think it is this context, that has guided me. And I'm sure you are going to ask this question directly, what is my fish, and what has been my flirtation? So I'm just, maybe I jump to that, but the question is how you can contribute in the life of these children, right?
Yeah.
So that is what every teacher must aspire for. And that is what every teacher, whether you came to the profession by choice, you came by compulsion, but once you have become a teacher, you should be, absolutely grateful to the Almighty that you give this opportunity, right? So that has been the, kind of guidance and motivation. Yeah.
So, sir, help us know your journey in your words and maybe the key turning points of the life so far.
So I think I have already given you a hint of that.
Yeah.
And then let me tell you briefly. So I did my post-graduation in physics from Allahabad University. And I did that post-graduation in physics, a subject which is highly respected. Though as a teacher now, I would hesitate to categorize subjects. But I'm talking of, early 80s, late 70s. So everybody will aspire to go into the civil services, become an engineer, doctor, and you can count 4 or 5 professions on your fingertips, and nobody knew any other profession, right? Yeah. If you are really aspiring very high in life. And I was doing my research after post-graduation, because that is also very interesting. Most of the people in Allahabad University, they will join research because they will get a scholarship and they will get some independence from the father's financial burdens, right?
Yeah.
And then prepare for competitive examinations, right?
Yeah.
And get into civil services, get into banks or wherever, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
That was the trend. And probably, very sheepishly, I was also trying to enter into the same, kind of tunnel. And then suddenly, my professor, I salute him. I continue to pray that he should keep blessing me. He invited me in his chamber one day, and he said, Ashok, you want to be a teacher? And I thought that the professor is going to give me his next class next morning, because that was a trend when professor used to tell the research scholars to go and teach the class, right? And he was a prolific teacher, a writer, a playwright. He was everything. I thought he must be very busy with something, and a couple of classes he's going to give. And I said, yes, sir, I will do that. And then he looked at me top to bottom and he said, don't jump too much. I'm not going to give you my classes. My God, that was divine. How could this gentleman read what is going on in my mind? Then I was dumbfounded for a moment, I must tell you, honestly. And then he said that, look, the challenge lies in dealing with young minds. And I want you to be a teacher in a school. I said, okay, sir, since I had already committed, yes, there was no way for me to go back on that, what I had said. And he said that, okay, you come to breakfast over to my house, okay? And earning a breakfast with your professor was not an easy thing, So I thought there's another luck coming my way. So went to his house, well spread breakfast course. And alongside my professor, there was a very towering personality, little intimidating, I would say. I was introduced, and I was told that he is the principal of the school. He is a former colonel from the Indian Armed Forces. No wonder, that is what explains his towering personality. And he said that he is on hunt for a talent among youngsters who could take teaching as a career. And you have to go with him. I said, okay, sir, fine. And then, my tickets were arranged, and within 3 to 4 days, I landed up in this school very close to Delhi, which you now know as Gurgaon. And then I thought that, okay, let me try for a couple of years, and then I'll go back and pursue whatever I want. But I realized it in less than 2 years how wrong I was in thinking of going back to any other career. And I just forgot about any other career in my life, because that was such a deep, touching, and inspiring experience of working with the children 24/7, because it was a day school, and it will convert to a residential school for some time, and particularly during the last few months in a year and all that. So I think it was amazing experience. And then I decided that I'm not going to go back to any other career. And though much to the annoyance of my parents, much to the disappointment of my friends, most of them have gone into civil services, banks, forest service, economic services, armed forces, everywhere. But to be a teacher, I mean, everybody was, oh, you're going to. So anyway, maybe during the course of time, I can share with you that. But just to complete this part of what you asked, and then I worked there for some time, and then I decided, a very conscious decision, that if I have to make a career in schools, I think I should get the best experience that is available in this school sector. So after having worked for a few years there, I moved to Mayo College, Ajmer, which you can say is I came from Allahabad University, which is known as Oxford of the East.
Yes.
And I went to Mayo College to teach early in my career, which is known as Eton of India. I mean, Eton and Harrow and Uppingham, these are best residential schools in the UK. Yeah. And Mayo College is known as Eton of India. Yeah. So I went there. I thought that let me learn something from here, because I'm now going to make a career. So I was there for a few years and learned residential schooling, learned how to contribute in the life of the children, how to be friends with them, how to work with them 24 hours, teach them in the classroom, play with them, and again in the evening, prepare them for the lessons next morning. I think it was a very, very nice experience. And then I moved to what I call abroad for some time. Came back to India, and then pursuing my goals since then. So that is a kind of a capsule, how I began teaching and how I ended up being here with you today.
So while you were sharing, I was visualizing the formative years again. And I was wondering, how was your childhood, sir? And what are your memories of your schooling?
So, I think this is something I must admire you for bringing in this thing here, because my own schooling, if I tell you, and for your viewers particularly, I think it is a story in contrast. My early 2 to 3, 4 years in the beginning, it was in a government-sponsored railway school. I mean, railways were running that school, because my father was in the railways, and I studied. And believe me, Sonia, even if I end offending some people, I will tell you, till today, I have not seen a better school than that.
Wow.
Right? Including the schools where I have served. So let me clarify that also. So why I say that was the best school? So it was the best school because the teachers were the best. It was the best school because teachers took complete care of their children. Right? And it was the best school because the school system gave a wholesome experience to each child. So that was my experience, right? And then comes the U-turn in my early childhood. My father gets transferred
Mhm.
and to an obscure place where schooling was not available of that standard. And for some family reasons, he could not keep the family with him. And therefore, my two sisters, my mother, we all shifted to our ancestral village.
Mhm.
So from a city, I migrated to a village. Generally, it happens the other way around,
Other way around. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting enrolled in the village primary school.
Mm.
So when I was taught by 5 teachers in one class, I had only one teacher for the whole school,
For the 5 classes.
right?
Mm.
And then from nice table and chair, nice gardens, nice building, nice environment, I came to a school which had the shade of some mango trees, but it had only 2 rooms.
Mm.
Okay, and you had to do some exercise on the hand pump to fetch water, right?
Right. Yeah.
You had to squat on the floor,
Mm.
right? So we'll bring sometimes sacks from the house to sit on that. And every child from the village, irrespective of which background they came from, they all sat together. So that gave me another experience of my childhood experience.
Mm.
Today, when I'm able to speak with conviction on diversity and inclusive education, it is because of my own experience of diversity and inclusive education.
Makes sense.
Absolutely no difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was my experience. So part of my primary school and up to high school, I studied in the village. From primary school, I moved to the middle school, and from middle school to high school, and then I moved to city again. So I think these two contrasting experiences, I think it has a profound impact on my life. And when I became teacher, I think my own student life was a kind of a lighthouse for me.
Yeah.
And let me bring in one more experience here, which will form some course for discussion in the coming few questions. So I deliberately brought in this experience here because I want everybody to understand how images work as motivators for the young children, right? So that image in the young child in me stayed with me. And when I became a teacher myself, I said, my teacher who left this world after some time, that he will be happy with me because I was a good student. He loved me. He made me a role model for other students. I was a peer leader. And then I thought that my greatest tribute to him would be that I also get the national award. So that was a very nice, a secret dream that I nurtured. It took a long time. And finally, my teacher blessed me in 2012 and I got the national award, right?
Wow.
So you asked about those experiences.
Yes.
So I think this was something that I should have shared and I did share.
So I'm curious to know that in a possible time where you could have just been perfect principal by being on an auto mode also, what has been your fish lately?
So thank you, Sonia. So first of all, let me refute it or rather present it to you that one of those fish that you're talking about has been not to get complacent, right? Because, you cannot say that today is the full stop and I have learned everything, I have accomplished everything, and therefore there is nothing more for me to do. I think I have been very, very conscious of this thing, right? And therefore, I'll tell you something. I liked one thing when somebody said that, look, Ashok, the challenge, everybody takes challenges, but nobody would like to take a challenge which amounts to walking on the ice, right?
Yeah.
And what does it mean is that you have, let us say, accomplished one thing. Before it sinks in you and even the sea of complacency comes to your mind, find another ice to walk on, another cube. Okay. So that has been very, very handy for me, right? So if I talk of the journey of the last 18, 20 years, setting up a new school, young children, young teachers, young parents, okay, and bringing them all together, adding a year to a school every year organically, So you become a 10th class, you become a 12th class, your challenges increase. You have to establish yourself. Just imagine for a new school in a city like Delhi, you have to prove yourself.
Totally.
Right? Yeah. If you don't prove and if you don't create benchmarks, then where the fulfillment will come from?
Yeah, absolutely.
So therefore, I think that was one very, very important flirtation, if I can use that word.
Sure.
The second thing was, I joined this institution in 2003, late 2003, October, November. And then from 2004, I started a series of projects. Okay. So the one project was because all through my life as a teacher, whatever part I contributed to the schools as teachers, I realized that a lot more investment in teachers are required. And I have seen in the schools that I have worked, and also in the schools that were contemporary for me, which means I interacted with teachers from other schools and things like that. And that became an article of faith with me, that if no institution can rise above the quality of teachers, right? And the quality does not come by wishing. Quality comes by consciously nurturing it.
Yes.
And that conscious nurturing requires a very intentional, purposeful investment, right?
Yes.
That investment is not always in money, It is financial investment, but it is also more of a psychological investment. It is a mental preparedness investment. It is an initiative investment, It is self-driven and also externally motivated, right? And therefore, we created here, with the help of teachers, some kind of what we say a long-term professional development program.
Okay.
And long-term professional development program is something where your capacity increases. That will have the direct benefit for your own students. Okay. And when the overall capacity, or what we call in educational jargon, collective efficacy of teachers. When all the teachers together, they start believing that all of us together can make a difference. The children, we can influence it. And we can see the result of it. So for that, everybody has to be prepared for it, right?
True.
So that is what we did. So we created systems and structures where there was a direct investment from the management, and the teachers were motivated enough to start investing in themselves also voluntarily. Then this whole combination, and they're seeking and exploring opportunities for them from the outside world, because outside world also has immense potential, where if you want to learn something, you will get opportunity.
Yes.
And the only investment you have to make is that your desire, your energy, and your time, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And the money can totally be withdrawn out of that, right?
True.
So we made a combination of this. And then we started seeing the results, So when the confidence level of the teachers go, and when they are able to align themselves with the vision of the institution, and all of them become ambassadors of the students, they become ambassadors for the institution, and children start seeing in them their guides, their coaches, their advocates, they're somebody who will do activism on their part, then that is the beginning of that relationship that we talk about, the teacher-taught bonding. The teacher-taught bonding does not come from Fevicol, right? It will not come with the help of a strong rope that you bind them all together. It comes from a very, very profound philosophy of ages. It comes from intrinsic motivation, It comes from very hard work. It comes from the transformations that you bring to the children, and then children start responding to that. So that is how there was never a dull moment in my life. There was no monotony. There was no complacency, because there was always something to look up to.
Being an educator, has it affected your personal life, your family life in any way?
Oh, in many ways, and many challenges. Sometimes you get bogged down by your responsibilities, and sometimes you do ignore your family time. It is very unintentional, but sometimes it does bring in issues. And if anybody has to learn from my experience, I would say that please develop some techniques where you can bring about a balance, right? And particularly in today's time, I think that balance is very, very important, right? Because there are other strains and challenges to family.
Right.
This one more strain should not be added to that. Okay. Our times were slightly different. The threshold of tolerances was very high. The mutual understanding was very high. At the end of the day, people will understand that, oh yes, of course, this is the responsibility of the person, and therefore this might have happened, right? But I think those values are a little under strain these days. Therefore, for the young educators and young leaders, I would suggest that please make a balance, because that's very important. And at least this is one lesson that I have.
You've always encouraged and brought innovation in your workspace, not the regular kinds ever that I know of. So always been innovating your workspace, school, student life, teacher life. Did you ever face any external or internal resistance to that approach? And if yes, how did you get past that?
So yes, I think there was no internal resistance per se, but internal acceptance, because when you are on the path of innovation, that is a change, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you have to manage that change, because people will not have resistance, the people will have apprehension that why this, what benefit it is going to bring. If status quo is helping us, then why to bring in this,
Yeah.
And all innovators, particularly in leadership position, I think they have to take it in their stride, and they have to add this change management strategy to bringing in innovation, right?
There have to be an acceptance that this would come.
Exactly. Because particularly when it comes to dealing with children,
Yeah.
any innovation, if you do not have brought many people around, I think your innovation will fail, because you can't do it alone, right?
True. Yeah.
So that is why I take this resistance as yet another opportunity to be a little more innovative, right? So little more innovation in how to roll it out and how to take, because, even if you do something because of your power and position, I think that rollout will not be last long. It won't be sustainable.
Yes.
So if your purpose is long-term, and if your purpose is transformation, then it is better that you buy in people, right? So that is how I responded to internal resistances or hesitances, for example.
Yeah.
Whereas external things are concerned, nobody can put external resistance to what you want to do, isn't it? At the best, they can discourage you.
Yeah.
Right? At the best, they can ridicule you. Don't be affected by this, isn't it? And do something in a manner in which next time those who discouraged you or ridiculed you, they start being jealous of you, right? And then they start becoming envious of you by emulating what you're doing, right? So this is how I strategize the whole thing. Yeah.
Super cool strategy. To be even in that mental faculty to strategize that speaks of who you are. Amazing. Tell me about a student that touched your heart, and tell me about a student that changed your approach.
So many. In our schools, it is a trend that 11th and 12th class children, they prefer coaching, right?
Yeah.
and they would not like to attend the classes. But in our schools, we had made it very difficult for them to ignore schooling because it gives them preparation for life.
Yeah.
And just bunk the classes and go for coaching is something that we don't profess, and particularly I have not encouraged it.
Oh.
But I remember one child walked into my office and he told me, "Sir, you are the only principal who does not allow his children to go for coaching." You see?
That's true.
And he was one of the most introvert child in that batch. And he had that courage. And I took it as a compliment that this child understands. And this child has been given this education in this school where he can speak up his mind. Even
The principal.
to
the principal about the principal.
About the principal, and being an introvert child,
Yeah.
An extrovert one can expect, but he
Right.
was an introvert. And he told me this, right?
Wow.
So I think that was something very, very profound. And then let me tell you, it is not about one child. It is several children who inspire you. Many people don't admit it publicly,
Yeah.
But I think teachers and educators and principals, they are inspired by the amazing work that these children are capable of doing, right? So when you say that you are able to do this and that, well, I welcome the credit, but the fact I know in my hearts of heart, who did it?
Yeah.
Children did it. Teachers did it. Parents did it, So that is the beauty of this relationship, which I told you in the beginning, that you get inspiration. And you should admit that is inspiration. And you should admit that is what making you grow every day.
Beautiful. Any child that made you change your approach?
All your approach changes every day. You see?
I love that expression. It says it all.
On this, your approach changes.
Yeah.
The difference is where, I'll tell you, you do it happily or you do it angrily.
True.
Right? And whether those children, they did it with you in a friendly manner or in a protesting manner or in a non-cooperative manner, that will depend how are you managing your relationship.
Right.
But approach changes every time.
Any memories you have when your fish slipped or almost slipped from your hand? What happened?
Yeah. So, when you start, I will tell you, not this school. There was another school where I took over as principal. And that was a small school at that time. There were 25 teachers and 300 students.
Wow.
And when I joined that school, what was the mandate given to me by the management? They said that all these 25 teachers must be removed in next 3 months.
Oh, what a day to walk in.
And that was my first principalship.
Oh, God.
Right? Now, what do you do? I just didn't know what to do. And therefore, at that time, the only strategy that I could have was saying yes, but delaying it. Right?
Wow.
So I was delaying the process, but during that process of delay, I was working on those teachers.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we found in first 1 month that the 5 of them were brilliant. And then the management said, no, these 5 should not be removed. That was it, right? And then after 3 months, they said, no, if you are happy, please carry on with them. You see?
Yeah.
And I worked with that institution for 5 years. And those 25 teachers became the nucleus of the entire teaching community.
Turning point.
Not a single one was removed.
Wow.
But that was very tough. Easier said than done. And today I'm saying it in a much lighter and happier way.
Yeah.
I had tough time.
What do you do in some of those moments when the going is not so good? And, there are always sometimes when your tried and tested formulas are not working, the success factors. Can you remember some of the things that you chose and you did?
Finding out the common meeting grounds. That is what I have found very, very useful. That there are in any situation.
Yeah.
In any situation, there are meeting grounds.
Okay. Always will be.
Right?
Yeah.
So invest in those meeting grounds. But you need to have a heart of generosity and giving, right? When you are a leader, I think you are under obligation to be more generous than anybody else, more giving by anybody else.
100%. Yeah.
So when you cannot win over people by aggression or by your authority or power, but you can win over them by your kindness and generosity, and by giving them the kind of impression you value them. You may have differences, but your personal value that you attach to them does not get diluted because of anything. And I think that has worked, luckily, in my case. And I have a feeling that it can work in any other situation.
So when we talk about leadership, there's another school of thought which says that I as a leader have to speed up fast. I have more things to do within that 24 hours. And it is upon the other person how they perceive my actions. Of course, you are able to take control of your actions in spite of that environment could be like that because you are thinking a different way. But have you seen an impact of that school of thought onto, let's say, the children and the parents and the teachers?
Oh, yes. I'll tell you, for me, I mean, this is my personal opinion.
Yeah.
That thought or any thought around that is absolutely destructive for the organization. Right? I don't subscribe to that. Because no leadership can thrive on aggression, on being authoritarian, on being rude. I mean, you take the example of leaders across the world, okay? So that thought does not hold water at all. So this is my first point. The second point is, being humble, being polite, being compassionate, showing empathy, these are the natural instincts. And if as a leader you are not able to exhibit it,
yes,
then what kind of leadership you are going to profess?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is my the first comment on that. The second comment is, for a short period of time, people tolerate you.
Yes.
Because of your position. Right? Unless you change and unless you are seen as investing in people, your organization does not grow.
Very true.
Right?
Very true. Yeah.
So I'm sure those organizations where this kind of leadership is encouraged are not the organizations which are built to last. Right? Those are the organizations which may have short-term goals or short-term successes or whatever it is,
yes,
but it will affect every level of workforce, and in case of schools, even the children also, and families also, very, very adversely.
True, sir. If you had only one choice, what would that be? When I say, is it your thoughts or is it your environment that makes you who you are today?
I think thoughts are nurtured by the environment, right?
Yeah.
Because environment cannot nurture anything and everything, right? So I very strongly feel that you have to be a very, very positive person. Your thoughts must be very, very positive. You must be very intentional about being helpful to others. But if these things are not enabled, then probably there is a chance that you will succumb to the environment. So that is where the role of environment comes in. Right? So I think there is a symbiotic relationship between the two, in my opinion. Okay. So only the thoughts in the absence of environment will not flourish.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And an excellent environment, cannot bring a positive thought and then adapt it and nurture it as a baby. That is
If it doesn't exist.
if it doesn't exist. Yes.
Fair point. Do you see any similarity between you, yourself, and in the role that you've invested your life into, and people from art, culture, media, and entertainment? Completely a different.
Sometimes I feel, Sonia, that I should not have done masters in physics. Okay.
What it should have been in. I knew that was coming. What should that have been?
So, though I was a good physics teacher, I taught physics. Physics brought me bread and butter.
Yeah.
And it elevated me to various other positions. But I think I would have been happier with history also, and political science also, and psychology, maybe. But one thing I regret in my life, that I did not get a chance to pursue music and dance and art and craft. I think a principal should have, some proficiency in all of these, let me tell you, very frankly. So, but I did try to compensate it by doing physics masters, as I told you. And then I did my masters in education. That gave me some idea about the other liberal arts and things like that. Yeah. And then I did my masters in management.
Okay.
So I tried to compensate or
the other stream,
my basic education with all those things. But still, I would feel that history would have been a better subject for me.
Why do you say that principals should have some indulgence in music and art and drama and any form of so performing arts?
That is what happens if they do not have the importance of it or value of it very well understood. How will they foster it?
Very true.
How will they foster it?
Yeah.
And a complete personality is a sum total of all these components,
But that's the same with sports or with science or innovation.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that is why, we tell our children that you be academically good, you be good in at least one co-curricular activity, and you pursue one of these performing arts.
Yes.
So, the cultural integration will come from all these things, right?
True.
That is why we are saying that the schools must provide all these opportunities and experiences. Yeah. And therefore, a principal must be intrinsically convinced about it.
Yeah. Should be walking the talk.
Absolutely.
So with years of experience behind you, and with as a very bold statement that I'm sure you wouldn't mind making, what is it that surprises or appalls you about parents and teachers of today?
Appalling would be a little harsh.
Okay, surprising.
Word to use.
Just very surprising.
But the surprising thing is, all parents love their children.
Sure.
There's no doubt about it.
Yes. Yeah.
They love them.
Yeah.
They invest in them, My only little bit of moderation to that is, that nobody will deny your parentage to them.
Yeah.
Or your ownership on them.
Yeah.
Okay? But ultimately, those children must be prepared for the universe, must be prepared for the world, right? So this is one thing that I suggest. The second thing is that, when they become somebody, let us say at the age of 25, and they are on the world stage and they are delivering their first speech, right? Then they will talk about that who all contributed in their life. So they should be able to tell that this is exactly what my parents did for me, other than paying them money or subsistence allowance or things like that. So what are those values, you inculcated in them? Because, so for that, you can't wait for 25 years. Every day you have to make that investment in them,
So is that something that you see getting better in today's parents or going backward?
That is what my surprise is, that it has to get better. It has to get better. And probably a better understanding of this thing has to come, that the children are the assets of the world. They have come through you, fine. Congratulations.
Yes.
Right? But prepare them for the world. Okay. Because today's world, as you know, is very interrelated, right?
Yes.
And the problems of the world, are to be seen holistically. And a holistic solution is to be found, right?
Yes.
So it is no more localized.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So for that, we need to develop that kind of vision, that kind of competency, when we can work together, understand each other, value each other, diversities of thought processes, culture, background. So for that, we have to prepare the child. And that is what my suggestion to the modern day parents is.
Absolutely connected to that point, sir. Help us understand what you've observed for so many years, that from a child who comes from a home background, no matter, and there are diverse home backgrounds also. But the moment this little body is brought into a school environment and then it grows year, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, what happens there?
So one little anecdote, let me tell you first. And, we are English medium schools, right?
Yeah.
And parents, not a word of English is spoken in the houses.
Yes.
But when they come to a school, they object that why Hindi is used. Right?
Yeah. I've personally been through that. Yes.
Right?
I agree. Yeah.
And it is the same children at the end of 14, 15 years of schooling, they turned out to be first-rate writers, speakers, debaters in English, not in their mother tongue, right? So this patience is to be developed first, right? That everything that you have aspired for your child will not come on the first day, right? So it is incremental. It is atomic in nature. Little, tiny things will be added up, okay? So this is the first thing, which is very important. The second thing is that whatever things I said about the parents, I think schools have to do the same thing, right? So if our focus is only to develop the cognitive abilities, focus is only to make them academically strong, so they will become engineers, but will they become humane engineers? I was surprised you asked this question earlier. I should have said that. A young girl I asked, what would you like to be in life? You know what she said? A good, humane doctor.
Oh my God.
Why did she not say a doctor? Is doctor not supposed to be good and humane? Right? It means there are some cues in this society which the children are,
Picking up. Yeah.
Picking up, right? And they know what is the difference.
Yeah.
So therefore, this flourishing of the human being, the idea of education, Aristotle defined it beautifully, that the purpose of education is flourishing of human beings. And this flourishing has got two components. One is the cognition and the other is character.
Yes.
So you flourish cognitively and then your character has to flourish. And then the character has all these elements, how good a human being you are, how helpful you are, how kind you are, how compassionate you are, how can you work in a team? How can you solve a problem? How can you think positively? These are all character components, right? And therefore, we have to develop these. Now, how we develop it, what programs, what policies, how we integrate it into the curriculum, what kind of experiences we give to them. One is that. And then we have to practice it. The children should also see the teachers practicing these qualities. So how fair they are, how articulate they are, how kind they are in their own communication, how do they interact with each, what is social media profile, what are their views on various subjects and aspects. Those things are very important.
What are your non-negotiables in life, sir?
So non-negotiable. And we define it as core values.
Yes.
So we have a vision. Where do we want to reach in life?
Yeah.
And then there is a mission, right? How we will reach it? What will be the vehicle for that? And then the destination is there and the vehicle is there. But will we take shortcuts also to reach the destination with the same vehicle? Or we will not take shortcuts, right? That is where those non-negotiables come from. So those core values. So we define it very early in our school.
Right.
Every child matters for us, non-negotiable. The child's parentage will not decide anything for or against the child. Non-negotiable.
Oh.
Recruit best teachers if you can get, but once you have recruited them, create opportunities for their success and growth. Non-negotiable. Right?
Brilliant.
Love for law and justice. Okay? Non-negotiable. Practice it in your own institution.
Yeah.
Okay? And then develop an overarching value system, which has love for entire humanity, which has love for environment, which has love for living together, which has love for doing together, all these are non-negotiables. So this forms the core value. And that is my personal core value also. And that is my institutional core values.
Beautiful, very motivating. If you could do anything that you wanted to improve the education system in India, what would that be if you had all the powers?
I will ask the Almighty to send me an army of teachers from there, who are imbued with their domain knowledge, right? Subject expertise, as we call it. And they should be very reflective in nature, okay? They should be able to look at their own practices, that whatever they're doing, it is affecting the children positively or not.
Yeah.
And they should be inquiring teachers, all the time, find out what is happening to the children, what is happening in their life, what is happening in their families, what is bothering them. And then their entire teaching should be focused on transformation, right? Your teaching should be transformative. So you transform the children, and children are prepared and they go as leaders in the society and transform the society, right? I think this is the quality of teachers that we need. Now, if these quality of teachers, people are born with these qualities, well and good. If they're not born with these qualities, I think we have to find means and ways to bring in these qualities. Because if teachers are not of this quality, nobody can help the institutions. Okay? And Dr. Radha Krishnan, our scholar president, said exactly this, that you invest in teachers, right? Respect them, regard them, give them the basic minimum, and then only you can hold them accountable to the society. So we cannot jump it, we cannot make them accountable and not do those things.
Not take care of them.
Yeah. But at the same time, I think the people also who are coming in the profession, and more number of people should come, I think they should also take this responsibility upon themselves, that they have to fulfill this obligation of child making or nation building or whatever it may mean to them.
Beautiful, sir. The conversation with you could go on for another 5 hours, but I will take a pause here, because I sincerely feel that there is so much that you have said and shared that we also need to process it, and we also need to implement at least 1% of it in our own lives, no matter what profession or what phase of life we're coming from. Because what you have shared is, yes, coming from your experience as an educator, but it is really the person who you are, the person that you've become. And you have so beautifully taken us through very real inspirations and comments and suggestions of your mentors, of the mentors that we all have an access to, and how you've taken it onto ourselves. I cannot thank you enough in words for sharing this time. And I know you're a very, very open person, and you would do that with anybody, but it made a personal impact to me, sir, and I really mean it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you for two things. First, you have elicited many firsts in this conversation. And secondly, you created a very, very engaging conversation, which I enjoyed thoroughly. Wow. So I thank you on both these counts.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you connecting with you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Means a lot. Lovely viewers, lovely audience. I'm sure you've been grappled into this conversation exactly like how I have been. I have had the honor and privilege of hearing the young man here a few times, and I can say it's addictive, and I really hope and pray that it becomes addictive to you, because the articulations of one thought, walking the talk, practicing what you preach, are wisdoms heard time and again. But when you are in a company of people like that, there is nothing but you can just take away a little bit piece of it and implement it in your life, which is what I've been trying to do. And I really, really urge and request all of you to rewind and re-listen to this conversation as many times as you need to. That's the beauty of a captured documentation. But please visit these thoughts. I'm sure there are a lot of times in our life when we have the wisdom, but it doesn't occur to us then of what is to be done. And that's where a beautiful compilation like this could be something that to refer to. So I hope that happens to each one and really, really touches million lives. Please share the experience, the learning that you've heard here. Let's not be greedy. Let's not be conjuice. Let's not just think that, okay, I've heard it and that's enough. It is really something that should be spread out across. You never know who needs it really a little bit more than you at this moment. So go out, share, bring happiness, and build leaders, because that's what our nation needs all the way through. Thank you, sir. Keep flirting with your fishes and keep flirting more and more.
Thank you, Sonia. What a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.